Hello everyone and welcome to the Comb Racing League. Because we've just both come from Tier 2, they're on the formation lap now, we haven't missed anything other than just qualifying. So I'm joined today by Scott, or Freefall.
How you doing, Jonathan? Pleasure to be here, mate. Like you said, just fresh from Tier 2, ready for some Tier 1 action.
Yeah.
See how it's really done.
Do we know what the pole time was?
I don't have it to hand, sadly. I would imagine it would be a low 14, maybe even a 13. Some of these guys, Valter, Pease, Caron during practice. Pease, I know he hit a 13.9 during a short quali practice, so maybe that, but probably a 14 dead.
Yeah, I know these guys really quick.
Yeah, the front three especially. Jacob up there, P4, very good qualifying from him. And Milan in P5, he's going to be starting on the mediums. He could be one to watch as well.
Yeah, who else?
Strategy.
Sheeb and SpongeBob are also in the top 10 on mediums.
Yep, Knight in P12, J-Luke, Nosey and Duwell 16, 17, 18, all the mediums, the rest of course on softs. But a quick flying introduction there I suppose, but
yep.
Looks like we're just about ready to race.
I think we know as much as you do. Right, there we go, lights out and away we go. And looks like Welsh has got a good start, although P's a better one. P's, yep, up the inside, he's got him. Although he's going to have to fight for the position. Jerome just behind him. Looks like he's got a happy P3. Mark and AJ side by side behind.
A little bit of contact further back between Relentless Farrell Fuley and ISRL Knight coming together at turn 1 there.
Neither of them surrendering. Nah, feel free. Pease now has the lead. Welsh are trying to get past Jerome though. Should allow Pease to get away a bit while these two are side by side. Already some penalties coming in.
Two involved into Farrell and Knight both picking up 3 second penalties. Probably getting a warning or two because it was a sort of free, doesn't go into one almost, and having to jump the curb a little bit. Nathan having a good start, he's up 3 already, as is J-Luke in the sister hat, so good start from them too.
Yep, oh goodness, P's really going wide there. I think they were told not to abuse that corner, but some of them picking their own lines.
Of course, especially like lap 1, heavy fuel, dirty air, it's very tricky, especially a little bit of cold tyres as well, maybe not rubber then. That section is tricky, so good on them all getting through nice and cleanly from what we can see anyway. Yeah,
certainly the S is good for cleaning out any that were side by side. I know a couple of people tried it in Tier 2 briefly. Only made it through, I think, 2 or 3 of them before one of them got ahead.
Well, I know for myself I had to go through one of them. We made it through 1, 2, 3 and it just couldn't go any further. It's very suspect. Sometimes you just have to put the longevity of the race before the immediate move. 3 into the pit though at the end of lap 1. Nosey ATK, Wheeled DC and Farrell Fury. Of course Farrell involved with that incident with Knight at the start, so probably picking up damage red, and there must have been some little scuffle in the mid-pack with DC and Nosey. All into the pits for a fresh set of tyres. DC and Nosey going for the softs, Farrell going for hard, so interesting to see how that'll work out for him, going for a longer stint here.
Of course, less likely to be a safety car, Tier 1. Although they do like pushing each other to the limit, and sometimes a bit past it. More penalties rolling in.
Two Aston Martins of SpongeBob and Seaman, 9 and 10 there. Lap 2, 3 seconds already. It's not a good way to start your race, but of course, once you sort of get into a rhythm, you hope those little things will start to sort of even out. But we've seen it in Tier 2. I think already this just shows the nature of the track. Like, look at the intervals from P1 all the way down to even J-Luke in P13. Barely a second between each car. It is just nose to tail through the whole lap here. Especially with that double DRS detection we'll see coming to play very soon.
Funnily enough, the closest battle at the moment is between Farrell and Knowsley, back down in 19th and 20th.
The battle for the wooden spoon at the early days, of course. Knowsley you'd expect to get by on the fresh softs compared to the hards, but of course he will need to definitely pit again. Farrell, I suspect, could take those to the end, although they won't be in a healthy state come lap 36.
Yeah, I think until the DRS comes out, most drivers are just going to be Stuck in a bit of a train. Hopefully then we'll start seeing some more moves. Oh, I haven't said that. T-Griff having a moment. Losing some front wing there in the S's. Being forced to go across the grass to not get in the way. Hopefully doesn't receive a penalty for that. Appears not. Yep, rejoins the track and he's dropped down quite a few positions. Down to, what, 14th? They're going to have to pit with that much front wing damage. Going really deep there. Letting the Ferrari through.
Just speaking of the gaps as well, the furthest up front runner, of course, IFR, Milan and P6. Notice a 1.7 gap to the top 5 in front. They're all pretty close together. But Milan on the mediums just shows a little bit of difference in the tyres. Just a little, he is starting to get gapped ever so slightly. Be important for the guys like Het Boompe, Sieb, SpongeBob, J. Lola, Nathan, everybody behind to clear him as soon as they can if they want to try and get up to that pack. Because once a gap forms, it can be very hard to chase down just with how low the DRS regeneration is.
Got on the curb a bit there after having just passed his teammate. His teammate seems in a straight pass. They are, I think they're attempting to go 3 wide here. Yep, they are. Oh goodness. And SpongeBob really losing out there, dropping at least 2 positions. At one point, he was in 8th on this lap. I don't know if he led into 8th or got overtaken by overtook his teammate at one point, but yeah, not a good lap for him so far.
J-Lola trying to squeeze it down the inside, a little bit of wheel banging from the two, but everybody making it through safe. SpongeBob like to say the worst loser, but all the cars still running. Think of the positive, I suppose. I don't know how you did this race yourself, Jonathan. There's that many gaps that are all so close together. Normally it's quite easy to see where the battles are, but in this you've really got to be aware.
I think you're closer together, these guys, than they were for you, but the difference is there were much more overtakes in Tier 2. The field is now starting to spread out a bit. Looks like Nathan going for a move on J-Lol for 9th. SpongeBob also looks like he might try and get through. Yeah, multiple positions dropped at once. SpongeBob starting to redeem what happened last lap. I could have pulled over a bit there, actually left him too much room, I think, being too generous, but in the end does hold the position and gets through into 10th.
Front 4 very tight, only separated by 1.1, 1.2 seconds. Just not a drop of air between them. Jacob just hanging on. AJ Wuhan, of course, he's going to try and keep with him. He is still in DRS, that'll be key for him. But this 4-way battle at the front, it seems, not to discount Jacob too early, but Pease, Wouter, Haroon and Mark all looking very strong at the early stage.
Yeah, certainly from what I've seen of them in the past, they are a different species at times.
It's unreal, the amount of hours these guys have in the game and the times. You may think, you know, taking a slightly different line and saving half a tenth through this corner, or a couple of hundred through that corner, but they add up over the course of the race, and that just, it separates these guys from the rest.
Now we're going to see any overtakes into turn 1. Whilst they're not quite close enough to Pease, he might go for something, but no, sticks behind him for the moment.
For the back, J-Lola getting past SpongeBob with the DRS, nice and easy move, clean the.
Oh, who's that? Farrell Fury goes for a spin in the middle sector, and that's his front wing gone entirely. Those S's, again, saw them catch up quite a few drivers in Tier 2. Now even catching up the Tier 1 drivers.
That's really scuppered his plans, of course. On the hards, he's going to need to pit again. He won't have a set of fresh hards, he won't be able to keep the hards on. So he's going to probably have to go mediums here, and really he's going to be hoping for a safety car to bring him back into this race.
It's possible the top 4 will be working together and just agreeing to hold the position for him, because I know quite often, I think it's those 4 going to party together.
There generally is for Tier 1, there seems to be a general Tier 1 party. A lot of these guys will be all in a similar party, or maybe 1 or 2 parties, and they just mute to work with a couple of them, maybe their teammate, or maybe a couple of the guys that are racing in the championship. So yeah, I could imagine these 4 will be talking. I know another sort of group is Do Well, the Real DC Knight, and sometimes Farrell, Nathan.
But,
like to
sorry to interrupt, lead
together.
change it seems. Well surpassed. Pease able to hold it into the corner. Pease only dropping down 1 position. Jerome still right in his tail, but not able to get through.
Of course, Pease could be run over here. He won't have the DRS. Haroon well behind him. The double DRS coming into play. Maybe not so much. Haroon just not getting a good enough exit out of turn 3 to capitalise on that, and that'll leave Wouter on revolt the next lap. Just a little quick one as well, Jonathan. I don't know if maybe you're getting it and the people watching. Knight seems to be flip-flopping between P1 and P16 for me.
He's P13 for me.
Well, there might be a little desinkage issue with Knight, it seems.
Yeah. I don't know, I haven't noticed anything. Does seem to be in the right place from what I'm seeing.
Hopefully it's just an issue on my end then, and everything is. I just thought I'd bring that attention because the intervals keep chopping and changing, and it's
no, he's 3/10 the one in front, 6/10 the one behind him at the moment for me.
Ah, right. That's strange.
Yeah, it's between J-Luke and Danny Boy.
Ah, see, for me it's just
oh, hang on, I'm going to miss another lead change, aren't I? Ah, no, Walter holds it. Oh, slight bit of contact between Pease and Jerome. And Mark may try and do something with that. No, stays behind him. As Milan passes Bumpier for 6th position further down the order. A few other overtakes going down on the main straight. I think Knight and Duke will actually be side by side here. Now they've settled down. Like getting the DRS and getting ahead. Ooh. And up the inside comes Danny Boy. Gets 13th, although, no, does manage to hold it. Car sliding everywhere. Keeps it pointing forward on the track. And in the end does move up to 13th position.
Out of the top 5 at the moment, Mark has got substantial amount of ERS, especially when compared to Bowter and AJ. Of course, we know the regeneration here isn't great. It takes a while, especially if you don't get a safety car, so he will have that to play with later on. It's just picking his opportunity. P's thrown not too far behind him.
But actually, Mark,
Jacob definitely down.
Mark does have his 3 seconds to worry about.
Of course.
And given how close they are, that's going to be big. So yeah, another lead change. P's back in front.
A little wide for the exit turn 3 there. That might have been a warner for him. Very easy to rack them up here, and like we've seen in the previous tiers, of course 2 and 3 tonight and 4 on Monday, penalties can have a massive impact on how the order finishes up here. But the pack seems to be doing similar to what we had in tier 2, splitting off into little groups. The lead car not getting the DRS, the cars behind unable to pass, and just sort of flip-flopping around each lap who has the lead and who doesn't have the DRS for the main straight. It seems that, especially further back the field at least. Front 4, 5, holding out a little bit better. Stu Will does pick up a penalty. Down at P14. Or maybe 15. Depending on where Knight actually is.
Oh, and that is P's into the pit lane. Now, let's see what tyres he goes onto. Mediums.
Mediums will take a lap, of course, to get up the temperature, but that should, in theory, trigger the others to just jump in and get their pits as well. Potential double stack issue here for Mercedes if Bowter chooses to go in and AJ decides to follow. So that might force their hand. It could be a big loss for AJ if he has to stay out another lap. Of course, the undercut, especially with so marginal the gaps are, should have a massive impact here and maybe see a few position changes. J Lola and Nathan having a battle further back, P8 and P9 side by side through 4 and 5. J Lola just getting ahead, but Nathan coming back through the double right-hander. And this will be a true test of them as they try and go side by side.
Oh, it's Jerome. Sorry, Jerome, 3 seconds penalty. Right, that's another one in the top 4, or top 5.
Mark both on their 3 seconds. J Lola did get the position there, Nathan had to back out through the S's.
Actually, I think this Tier 1 field much closer than Tier 2 was. This piece came out in 15th position after pitting. Certainly got a lot more to claw back compared to the guys who were pitting.
And of course, as much as he'll benefit from that undercut, he does have to deal with this traffic now. And we've seen how tricky it can be to overtake. The front 4 not opting to pit, going another lap.
Surprised Adrian didn't pit when he saw Walter hadn't.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in
thought he
clean
would've
air,
just took
but
his chance.
he'd lost the DRS, so thought it would have been worth getting it out of the way. But now playing the risk.
He's just starting to make his way through the back markers. He has cleared Do Well. Now he's got J-Luke and Danny Boy ahead of him. And a nice little 3 seconds of clear air until the next car once he gets by them. But it's all very well catching them. It's another thing getting past them.
Actually,
tyre advantage should be in his favour.
J-Luke just lets him through. Doesn't want to hold up the
Probably a
leaders.
wise decision from J-Luke for his own race. He's not really racing P's, I suppose. His battles with Danny Boy do well, so understandable that.
Is Danny Boy going to fight it? Ooh, perhaps a little more than maybe should have, but no, not really too heavily. Lets him through.
Two more of the front runners into the pit. Relentless Mark and Relentless Wouter, the two Relentless teammates, of course, in the AlphaTauri and Mercedes here tonight, both opting for the Mercedes. 2 laps younger than Total Peace, so we'll see where they come out in connection with him. Peace looks to have jumped them fairly easy with the undercut.
Yep, and here's Total Peace past Knight now. Another position gain for him.
Wouter and Mark, of course, if they want to get to Pease now, have got the clear J-Luke and Do Well. And then see them fight too hard with Pease. Expect to see the same again, but then there is still a little gap. Of course, the tyres will come back round in their favour towards the end of this stint.
Oh, bit of a lock-up from Wildsid there.
A little bit there, yes, right in the back of Do Well and J-Luke, and this will hamper him here if he gets stuck behind them through the S's. The dirty air will be very detrimental to his life.
Oh, who's that? Is that not Pease? That's Milan.
Milan. He is front wingless. Of course, started P5 on the mediums.
There we go. AJ into the pit lane. The Roman Moon P8 still staying out on track.
Corona really going long here. It does raise the question. I don't expect them to be going for a one-stop, because generally the 2-stop is quicker. It's a fairly short pit lane and with the level of tyre degradation here. But could we see a left of the ballpark one-stop from Perone?
It's possible. I mean, there's still loads of laps left to go. You'd have to go onto the hard, I think. Maybe the medium's possible, but seems too much of a push and not worth the risk.
You'd need to take them softs a few more laps, and after about lap 9-10 they do really start to go off a cliff, so it could be a risky one. I don't expect that. I think we'll see them in this lap. J-Lo lap, Bumpe and Perone all pitting for mediums or softs at the end of this lap. I would expect to see, but this is racing, of course, anything can happen. AJ making his pit stop, he's came out 2 seconds down the road from Do Well, and by extension 2.5 seconds down from Mark, so
actually Mark's lost quite a bit to Walter, hasn't he, in the traffic.
Wouter able to clear Do Well and J-Luke a lot easier than Mark has, and it has lost him a couple of seconds at least. You do see Corone and Bumpe in other pits.
He comes out side by side with Knight. Oh, J-Luke also getting the move. They're 4 wide temporarily.
Oh, as Mark loses to the back end and connects with
J-Luke
J-Luke.
spun. Well, was spun.
Mark trying to cut the curbs at turn 2, losing the rear end, and the back wheels of his just connecting with the side pod of J-Luke.
Jerome side by side with Knight here. Forced a bit wide. It's not worth Knight fighting it too much though, he's on the older tyres.
You'll have to excuse me if there is any Knight related drama, because for me he is currently just heading into turn 1.
Ah, no, yeah.
Definitely a little bit of
Let's fight in your
Codemasters trademark desync. He's back up into P2 as Jay Lawler pits after 13 laps on the softs. And only 1.8 off Seep. He'll be chasing him down to regain the official league. Of course, he does have provisional lead at the moment. That were P2, Mark P3, Corona provisional P4.
I don't know if you saw that, actually it might have only been 3 wide for you because Knight was one of the drivers involved, I think, but that 4 wide into turn 1 that caused J. Luke to spin, not sure who I'd blame it on. Certainly just the case of drivers coming out the pit lane going at different speeds, all converging on one corner.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen, of course, it was only 3 wide. It did look a bit more like a racing incident. Of course, I only have one viewpoint for it, so additional footage with the stewards, it might be a different result. But even without Knight, it did look a bit strange. It looked as if Mark was pulling a bit of a strange wiggle, almost. And we do have a spin, sorry, just
That's DeWill.
DeWill through the S's. Seems to have the car intact. Those tyres will be
racing. Oh goodness! Nearly did SpongeBob in. We stayed enough off the racing line.
Just leaving enough gap. He's of course one of the quickest men out on track here, but also on the fresh tyres. He's managed to catch up to Seep by about 2 seconds within a lap.
Yeah, he's also actually pulled away from Wells slightly. The gap was 2.7 last I looked.
He has, of course, strained his battery, but as has Welter. He's down at 6%. Mark's sitting pretty on 40%.
I think
back.
SpongeBob is about to retire in the pit lane. So I think he just span in the last sector and then went full speed into the pit lane, or as fast as he could. Yep, there we go. Didn't see what caused the spin, but just 18 drivers.
Tricky traction zone in the final corner, that long right hand. Also, maybe just lighten the rears up a lever so slightly too early. Crone though has caught up in the back of Mark and has gapped Jacob. A lap ago Jacob was just within DRS. It seems he's broken that fairly simply. And he's now looking to get a move for what will be provisional P3 on relentless Mark. Of course, Mark does have the 3 seconds of penalties, but as does Crone. So Jacob maybe not worrying too much about that. Maybe just trying to keep his pens down the nose, keep in within the gap, and play the long game on these two.
Just Knight and Nosley side by side for 12th. And in the end, Knight gets through. One thing I always love about watching Tier 1 is they're really good at finding the limit of how hard they can push each other. Because you get such close racing that in Tier 2 would almost certainly cause crashes or whatnot. There's a pace difference always, but it's the driving mentality is just Tier 1's completely different.
Of course, these guys are the pinnacle of the league. They've got so much better control over the car, which of course is what helps them find the speed. So like you say, when it comes to the side-by-side battles, they can control the revs of the engine to get a little bit more rotation. Little things like this that you might think is just, you know, us talking up a load of nonsense, but it really does help with these battles, and it, you know, proves on track, like you've said. Some of the battles we've seen on track for these guys this season and the last few seasons, it's a highlight of my Thursday nights. You know, I finished my race, of course, in Tier 2, and I've come and watched these guys, and you do learn stuff. You pick up stuff, maybe different lines, just even different ERS management, different strategies. It's always a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, now Mark, Jerome and Welter all very close now. Oh, went into Seep with 12 seconds.
Penalties at the moment. Knight 6 seconds, Seep 12. Cadone and Mark both on 3. Hit Boompe and J Lawler on 6, Danny Boy, J Luke, and Doolittle all on 3, and Farrell on 11. Trying to beat out Seeb for that top roll when it comes to pens, but it's just like they're not able to. Seeb 12 seconds just at the halfway mark. Not a good sign as we have yellow flags.
Is that?
It looks like Farrell Fury, he seemed to have another spin. He is ghosted and being lapped by Caron and Mark as we speak.
No. Actually gets DRS from one of them, I'm not sure which one. But Walter may finally be able to get past Seeb. And yep.
Seeb has been doing an excellent job though for Caron and Mark, holding up out of the last few laps, and an even better job for Pease. He's now got a gap of 3 seconds out the front.
Well, actually, at one point that was 3.4, so I think Pease may have made a mistake somewhere. Cost him some time. Seeb pulls out the way of Jerome. Mark actually a little back at the moment, not right on their tails. I'm not sure how much longer Seeb's going to try and extend the mediums. But unless there's a safety car, as well to get 3 seconds of penalties now. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's no safety car.
Oh, as J-Luke and Danny Boy come together on the exit of turn 5, just as you were saying that. It looked like a racing incident from what I've seen, just a little bit of wheel spin from J-Luke on the exit, and that is the safety car.
That's Seeb into the pit lane. I think Pease missed his opportunity.
And Mark all in as well.
I think Pease had just passed the line, or is he? No, he's had to slot him behind the safety car. Oh. Unless it's going to let
everybody behind will get a free pit stop and will not have to obey the Delta. This is
bad news, yeah. Wait, so which of the guys up front didn't have penalties? Walter, Jerome, Mark all do. Mark actually up to 8 seconds. I guess that's a 5 plus a 3, so we can serve the 5 off at some point.
So Caron had 3, Mark had 3, and that was it. So Wouters picked up a 3-second penalty in the last lap or so, and yeah, Pease and Jacob still on nothing. Well, Pease, even without those pens, can't help but feel for him. If he'd been slightly further up the road, could have cleared the safety car, got round and pitted again, or slightly further back, could have jumped in the pit at the same time as his rivals. You can't help but feel he's got to try and go long now. Either that, or it'll be the recovery drive off the Century through the field on a fresh set of mediums.
Well, I mentioned in the Tier 2 stream earlier, I've seen a recovery drive and a half on this track from DeWill. Season 2, round 1 of Tier 1. So I'm not even sure if you were in CRL at that point. DeWill won the Mexican Grand Prix. So this was quite a long time, I think last July. However, there's a very interesting fact about how he won it. Halfway through, he had to restart his PS4. And I can't remember the reason behind it, but he won despite the PS4 restart mid-race.
Legend that is DeWill. We do love him here in CRL. Our Kevin, our Season 1 and Season 2 champion. He's not having the season you'd expect from him this season, but we all have a bad one, I suppose. And lovely guy as well. Pizzo has pit for a fresh set of mediums, and that falls him all the way down to P9. But of course, 6 of the 8 in front of him all have pens. Seeb going for the softs. He's went from the mediums onto the softs, of course. 15 laps on the softs. Well, we've seen the front runners do 13. We've still got probably a lap or 2 under safety car here, so he could be going for the one stop to the end.
I think it'll work for him actually if he'd be nice to his tyres.
Absolutely, he's in with a chance of making it to the end. Of course, he will have a little bit of pace to begin with. He'll need to take advantage of that, but be cautious not to wear through them.
So where's Pease? Pease is 9th. And he will be battling for position, won't he? So they won't just let him through.
Will be for position, yep. It's got J Lola, Nathan, AJ Wuhan and Boompe to get through before he even starts to fight with some of them front guys again. Of course, Jacob was in that that battle, so he's not lost out too much to the rear end of that battle, but of course being at the front, a lot of work to do.
First of the guys without a penalty, got that going for him.
My game might be completely glitched out. Is Jacob and Nathan not got a penalty, or is that?
Neither Jacob nor Nathan have a penalty for me.
Ah, right. So it seems to have just been Knight.
Knight's currently 12th, and he does have a penalty at the moment. How much has he got? 6 seconds.
6, yeah. See, for me he's 10th, but then he keeps jumping between 10th, 1st and 17th. It's it's a little bit weird. Maybe the Canadian-Scottish connection not happening too well tonight.
I suspect we'll see safety car in this lap.
I expect so just Farrell and Jax, 17. Of course, Jax, Tier 2 reserve, making the step up to Tier 1 tonight. There was only 2 spots in Tier 2, 4 reserves available. So he decided, instead of sitting back, not having a race tonight, to get involved with the top guns, with the big boys in Tier 1. So fair play to him here. He's not expected to do much, but he's still in this race. He's still beating 4 drivers.
I always find there's usually an army of people wanting to reserve for Tier 1, so it's quite rare that there's only one reserve, being J Luke, who, had that crash earlier. We didn't catch it on stream. But
it's a stray one. Of course, Tier 1, most abundant in reserves of the 4 tiers. So
yeah, because usually I think new people who come to the league often are Tier 1 or Tier 4. I think the 2 most common ones they go into.
Yeah, definitely.
They're either a fast person looking for more fast people to race, or someone new to the game looking for a warm-up. But we'll keep quiet about that now. Safety car restart, Walter choosing when to go. Jerome just behind him. Hold him up, going very slow. And Bumpier temporarily past Nathan there, had to let him back through.
She's getting a really good start, clearing Mark pretty well, and actually having to look at her own into turn 1 here, going down the inside, cut the curb a little bit. Of course, that'll turn to the outside for turn 2, but gets to move down into turn 3, but does pick up a 3-second penalty when doing so.
That's him on 15 now.
So this late, well, not late safety car, but safety car definitely passing midway point, 15 seconds. Unless this field really spreads out or he can really get his foot down, he will lose quite a few positions from that.
Yeah, P's already up 1 position. Past Bumpier, who actually lost 1 to J-Law as well, I wasn't looking.
Back Knowlesley tight on the back of Danny Boy.
Who himself is... Ooh, what's Bumpier doing? Has he got damage? Or is he... Slowed right down, let lots of people through. Actually looks like Jack isn't currently driving his car, looks like his AI is.
Yeah, bad that as well. Seems to be a connection. Wonder if Boompy maybe losing it through the final of the S's.
I think he's pulling into the pit lane to retire. Yeah, that was a...
Not too sure with that. Seeb though, clear throwing into turn 1 at the safety car restart. He's now only a quarter of a second off the rear of Bauer. Pretty soon he'll have DRS to assist him here. Bauer locking up ever so slightly on that front left, it seems, into turn 4. Of course, the soft tyres you expect to be a lot more grippy through this sector 2. The technical aces of sector 2, of course.
They're right on his tail. Might be waiting for the DRS to go for a move, although if he can get one beforehand, that'd be great for him. Actually burned through quite a bit of his ERS already.
Of course, no ERS on the run down to turn 1 this time. Next lap, however, that should be enabled, and he'll want to get the move done and clear before that happens. Because once somebody gets stuck in the DRS behind you, it's very, very hard to break them with the double DRS, and the, of course, DRS section through sector 2. 3 DRSs around these tracks just really can multiply up, and with there's limited overtaking space on the track, the only place, as we're seeing Sieb have a go at Valter being turn 1, the prime opportunity.
Yep,
it's
there
very
you go.
tricky to break people.
Now Sieb's got a bit of a dilemma here because he wants to try and push that gap to get earn that 15 seconds of penalties back, but at the same time he needs to get his tyres to the end of the race. And at the moment, that is a tall ask. Given what was it, 14 racing laps? More than I think anyone else was wanting to do on the soft. So a bit of contact between J-Law and Pease there.
Furthest we've seen go was J-Law out with 13 laps. See, the first thing he'll want to be doing is push to break that DRS from Valter. If he can do that...
Oh, J-Law going for a spin in the middle sector. Does not lose a tyre, loses his entire front wing though. Brings out a yellow. That's him down to 14th and a definite pit stop required.
See, but front set the fastest lap, unable to break the DRS on Valter. And all that hard work he's done using those soft tyres through sector 2, it's all about to be undone by this double DRS detection zone through the first straight, and of course the exit of turn 3 towards turn 4. Now we're catching up so fast, closing the gap from about 9 tenths to just over 4 tenths alone.
And obviously on Danny Boy, gets the move done into turn 1. Of course now also has the DRS to keep himself ahead, secure that 8th. No, it looks like he might have a go on Danny Boy. To the start of sector 3. Got the overspeed, going to try and hold it around the outside. Pushed a bit wide, but now's the inside for the hairpin into the stadium section. Still side by side, Danny Boy forced slightly into the wall, and T-Griff is past him. Actually going to have to worry about the 2 McLarens behind him. Just T-Griff also getting past Danny Boy and Knight getting him back. Ooh. And that is Danny Boy.
One.
That, yeah, I think he's lost his front wing entirely. No, he's got his entire front wing despite that.
Knight's front wing gone, it seems, and Danny Boy's front wing and front right all gone. Yellow flags in sector 1. I'll be surprised if this is at least a virtual safety car.
I think he's got side pod damage. And I say, McConey, I think you managed to bring on commentator's curse for us. He said... Yeah, Knight's definitely got some very heavy damage. I mean, from the collision, we really squeezed. Hard to say if he shouldn't have been going for the move or if Danny Boy shouldn't have defended like that. I think it's more just 2 drivers both wanting the same space. Interesting that AJ hasn't been dropped by Mark yet. That puts him in a good position for getting onto the podium.
Of course, the furthest front runner without a pain at the moment. And Knight choosing to retire in the pits, I believe that is.
Yeah, the way his car was driving, despite the fact he had his whole front wing, it so little downforce. Pease on Nathan. Gets the move done as J-Law sets the fastest lap on some fresh soft tyres.
He's only a second and a half off AJ at the moment. Doesn't have a pain either. but the big gap that could hinder him is that 4 seconds between Mark and Garone.
But actually, he doesn't need to necessarily pass them. He just needs to catch them.
Just needs to get within that time frame. And Mark having the 8-second pen, sorry, so easy to jump. He has got the pass Jacob for position, and then got the chase down within 3 seconds of Bowter or Garone to get the position.
And his tyres, they do have a one lap advantage, but only one. And I think that one extra lap was behind the safety car anyway. So.
Yeah, it'll be very, very 1% if we're being on the extreme side, the difference in the tyres here, I would say. Of course, that doesn't involve the driving style. There might be a difference, of course, but the extra life won't be that great from the lesser lap. Nathan though is hanging with him, so maybe looking just to get pulled along by Pease.
I think AJ is too far back to wet this. Jacob's what, over 6 seconds to Welter.
Jacob is 6.8 seconds, or just below that from the leader. He's 8.2.
And Steve getting even more penalty. How much is it to get disqualified? He can't be too far off.
Well, this is the strange thing, because normally it is about sort of between the 30 to 40 mark, just depending on what the penalties are for, for 3 seconds, 5 seconds. But we have seen in practice where it is possible to spin through the S's in a particular way that gives you 1 minute of penalties in one goal.
Interesting.
Valter, the man actually in P2 at the moment, is the man that, I don't know how he tested it or how he found it out, but he managed to do it on 2 separate occasions. So
yeah, I do remember seeing a screenshot where lots of people all had minutes worth of penalties and wondering how on earth they managed that.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Normally, as soon as you get to about 35, that is it. The black flags are out and you are disqualified. But whether Codemasters maybe know that the track limits are an issue in this game, maybe instead of fixing track limits, they've decided to put a little bit of code in, just to give you a little bit extra breathing room.
As Mark gets 3 seconds of penalties, or 3 more seconds of penalties, I should say.
Takes him
That
up
brings
to 11.
Yeah.
I'll really drop him down the order. That would have him down to about P8 as things stand at the moment.
Yeah, I think actually Mark pulling along AJ here. He's only just missing out on the DRS with Jacob. Actually, going for the move there. Is that pumpkins on the back of the Mercedes? I think it is. I haven't seen that before. When he gets closer, either side of the Ineos logo.
It might be. I've not noticed that either.
Look at Jerome's, you'll see on Walter's car. So they're dropping distance a bit. Yeah, no, I think it is.
It's getting into the festive spirit of the course last weekend. The pumpkins out. I wonder if we'll see a Christmas tree as we get towards December.
Now I think P's got the DRS in the middle sector. However, Jacob does have the fact that Mark's between them working for him.
He was just on the cusp of the DRS there, but managed to get down inside it to about 9 tenths. That'll be crucial given the double DRS for this first straight, and of course the second straight between turns 3 and 4. Although with Mark having it in front of him, it won't gain too much on. It'll gain a little bit on Jacob at the moment, but more so from them battling than the actual DRS itself. And you see that there, 2 of them going side by side through 1, 2, and 3, and that's just allowed P's to catch up by about 3 tenths.
Yeah, well actually, Welton and Jerome both have 3 seconds of penalties, so they'll be fighting away. They're right nose to tail at the moment, not much between the two of them. So it'll be interesting to see which one of them gets it in the end. Obviously, Walter currently in the better position. They do have to worry about passing Sieb at some point. His tyres in the last few laps are really going to start to fade. It's Tigriff gets his first 3 lot of penalties. Oh, and now Pease.
It seems that both Valter and Haroon are both just done the 3 warning mark. No, that's sorry, that isn't Valter having only the 3 warnings, where it looks like Haroon's already on 4. 5 actually. So Haroon is only 1 more warning away from a second 3 second.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Pease, yeah, passed Mark. Well, actually, because of the way he did it, lost a bit of time to AJ. Because AJ is the man who's really fighting here.
Of course, Mark not really in play with this when it comes to penalties. Even if he does get 5 seconds removed, he is still on a nice chunky 6 seconds of pain. So yeah, he's will be looking to catch up that Mercedes of Jacob as soon as he can, and then put the foot down for a few laps and try and catch that one for Rowan. Because if Rowan gets that second, if he gets another warning here, 6 seconds of penalties, that could make him very vulnerable to Pease. The gap at the moment just around about the 6 second mark.
Yeah. But of course, it does depend on how much Jacob and Pease fights.
Of course, Jacob will have his elbows out here. This is, of course, for pretty much for a podium by the time Sieb's penalties are applied.
So yep, Sieb now dropping back to second.
He's now having a run at Jacob into turn 1, going down the inside. They've done just before turn 1, and of course we'll have DRS on the next straight to try and pull out that gap.
Missed that overtakes us. Showing, oh, and Mark's alongside Jacob. Which is not what he wants, if he wants to stand a chance of staying ahead of Pease.
Side by side through the double right-hander. Haroon does pick up that 6 second penalty. Now that is big for Pease. The gap 5 seconds. Pease on no penalties. Haroon on 6. That's a provisional P2 for Pease as it stands.
Yeah, and with Mark between him and Jacob now, even more in his favour. Actually, Jacob under threat by Nathan, and I don't know where he came from, but all this battling, it's allowed him to catch up. What are his tyres like? Same age.
Nathan and Jacob will of course be fighting Mark. You've got so many penalties, why are you battling here? You could be posting me a podium. Of course, no penalties for either of them. If they can get within 6 seconds of their own, that is a P3 at least for them. But now they have to expend all their tyre wear, all their ERS, and use the DRS to try and get past Mark. He's just not going to surrender it.
Oh, small mistake there by Mark. Is that enough for him to get through? Looking to go up the inside, he is. Going up the inside. Mark not surrendering it though. Jacob needs to be careful how this position goes, because if the fight goes too badly, and Nathan will follow Mark right through. No positions changed. Pease now closed the gap down to 4 seconds with your own.
At the moment, Valter still on 3 seconds of penalties. Pease the gap 6.5 seconds. He's going to need a mighty last lap here to cut down at that gap, or a big mistake from Valter. Haroon, he's definitely a threat with the pens, even if Pease does pick up one. And Sieb well and truly going to struggle once pen.
And Nathan!
Nathan! We just got that at the both of them. Nathan going for a spin at the final turn.
He's lost some of his front right. I was on board with him at the time. Well, there goes any potential. What would it have been? I'm not sure quite what position.
It would have been a P3, 4, 5 sort of in the mix, depending on how the penalties get applied. And as Mark gets tangled up with Jacob, Mark losing out a little bit, getting a little bit of a spin.
And given the penalties, really wanted to avoid that.
See picking up another one, just adding to the pile. 21 seconds now. See him drop as it stands to around about the P8 mark, P9 mark, depending of course how this last lap goes.
Yeah, Nathan, without his front wing, really struggling here. Wants to try and stay within 3 seconds of DeWill and Tigriff. It may not happen as he has to go through the S's now. And yeah, no, just doesn't have the downforce. So be careful not to hit DC on the rejoin.
And the worst part is, does round the final corner, crosses the line for professional P1, C professional P2. Charon jumps C for P2 at the moment, but P's jumps both of them for the proper P2. Jacob P4, Mark P5 at the moment, of course. Well, we'll slot into this. Mark getting another 5-second penalty. DeWill does stay 7th.
Ooh, but only just misses out by 3/10. Jacob's the next man, sorry, Nathan, and he'll be absolutely kicking himself with that one.
He was on for a P5 there. Maybe a P4 if he could have got past Jacob on the final lap. Has to settle for P10 in the end. But that gap from Mark in P5 to DC in P8. 1.2 seconds.
Actually, Jack is going to have Farrell here. Although it looks like he's an AI because he's ghosted. And I saw he was earlier. That might just be the way it's looking on my screen.
I believe it was because
oh yeah,
the
it was,
race
yeah.
did end
Race ended before he made it to the line.
So.
But there we go, Walter with the win. Words that have been uttered more than a few times.
Common occurrence now in CRL. He is definitely taking over the reins from Ferg and DeWill of seasons gone past.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, this is his first win in 3 races. So it hasn't been completely dominant. However, the man is yet to not be on the podium.
Of course, he got the moniker after a few races, Mr. P2, coming P2 in the first 4 or 5 rounds of the championship.
Yeah.
Does take win P's, P2, and Corone rounds off the podium P3.
Is P's actually Jamaican, or has he just got his flag set to be?
He is located in Wales, I do know that, and he is originally from England, so
yeah, because I know some people just set their flag to whatever country they feel like.
Yeah, I think P's maybe just liking to spice it up a wee bit. There's too many Union Jacks in this grid, so he decided to go for the good old Jamaican.
Maybe he might take up bobsleigh sport as well.
Well, if he does, he'd certainly be quick. He seems to be at everything else he does. Do know, of course, the Jamaican bobsleigh team, a legendary thing, as are some of these drivers in here.
Yeah, actually, I guess we ought to be getting them in for a post-race interview.
I will see about getting them in. I'll get Wouter, Charon, and P's all in here. If I can find them quick enough. So we have...
Don't think I've any of them friended it. I may, but I'll let you do it because you're more likely to.
Total P's. Get them all in here for a quick little chat. But I suppose before we do that, who would you go for your driver of the day, Jonathan?
Quite possibly Jacob. I really was not expecting him to be able to stick with them that well, and yet he did. Because, you know, those top 3, I guess 4 if you include Mark, minus his penalties, they're usually just flying. I think Jacob did a really good job. You could give it to Walter, but it's kind of... He won again, he didn't win by miles. Just given some of the stuff we've seen from him, you know.
For me, I've got to give it to Pease. That, of course, getting little bit inconvenienced by the safety car. Have to battle his way all the way back up from P9 to P2. Very
Actually,
solid recovery drive.
Now you said that, I agree with you. I'd forgotten about that bit. Yeah. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Congratulations on your podium and win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I assume you guys have got your audio sharing on. It seems to be always you three on the podium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
I mean, how did you find the race? I know, Pease, you got screwed over a bit by the safety car.
Safety car. Safety car is the bane of my life. That I think that would have been an easy win because the strategy, because they got stuck behind the train. Even if they had caught me, they had penalties. So yeah, it was great. I loved it. Can you hear the pain in my voice?
Yeah, very much so. To be fair, I think you're doing better off than Nathan is. I don't know if you saw end of lap 35 through the last corner.
I saw.
Yeah,
I
clip
saw,
just front way.
heartbreaking.
Oh.
Would have been a P5 for him, or maybe a P4 if he could have got past Jacob, but has to settle for P10 at the end of the day. He will be not happy. So you can see by the post migration right after the race finished, I think.
Yeah. I mean, any comments on the race? We got thrown in last second. How did you guys find it?
Yeah, era saving was a bit tricky, but it was a boring race. Shit. Just in the train. Just in the train, and then yeah, my personal mistake was the curb on the last corner. I got wing damage, and yeah, couldn't prepare overtake on Wout anymore. I think I would have had him, or at least a very good fight, because I had way more euros than him. But yeah, I fucked it myself.
Yeah. Thoughts on Austria? Because that's the next race. Better than this? Worse than this?
I
It's
can
gonna
see
be
it go
way
worse.
worse. No, it's gonna be way worse than this. This is gonna be a 13 car train, undercut, safety car, and it's just gonna be long. I never want to hear about a safety car ever again. I've got PTSD now.
Mate, when I saw that yellow dot before, in front of you, I mean, the straight out. Oh, peace.
But yeah, oh well. Move on to next week.
I think so.
Yeah. Do you guys know how this affects the standings? Because I haven't really paid much attention to the T1 standings. I know Wout is still...
Stays the same, only peace gains on me.
Yeah,
About
I think I
extents.
guess like on Neuron by like 5 points or something, and wow, it's
6,
it,
yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
Dude,
Lucky Boston, no. He did good.
Alright, well yeah, unless you have anything else to say, any complaints about the race, I will let you guys go and celebrate your podium and Wout your victory.
Thank you.
I'm taking that trophy.
Just swap the vaults around, no one will notice.
Yeah, GG, good race.
Right, well, there we go, that concludes Tier 1. Didn't see qualifying, but yeah, I enjoyed that race, Scott, don't know about you.
Oh yeah, definitely entertaining to watch. Let's just say it was better to watch than it was to race in Tier 2 for me, but I'll say no more. I
Yeah,
don't want
but
to become more of a meme than I already am.
Austria next week, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I can actually... I haven't had time to test, to do stuff through the PC. Because I want to be able to stream properly through the PC, get fancy graphics and all, and last week I attempted it, and last second my mic stopped working, and I'm not sure why.
It's a strange one, but we look at that and see if we can get it sorted.
Yeah.
Might be worth, if you're about Monday night, jump in for the Tier 4 stream for a second even. And
I can tell you for a fact I won't be. I've got martial arts, and I've got a grading coming up anyway, so... Won't be for me, but... I'm just... Yeah, I'll test it some other time.
Yeah, I can send you a screenshot of my settings even, just in case it's something as silly as that, like OBS just being silly.
Yeah, gonna end the stream now, so thank you guys for watching, and see you next week.